Hi everyone, this is Rohit from Lifestyle Mastery, and today I'm excited to have Saravana Kumar, who's the founder of Kovai.co, which he later took $10 million dollars in a year. Kovai currently employs more than 200 employees with offices in India and the UK. Welcome to the show, Saravana.
Thank you very much, Rohit, for having me on the show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I know you've been part of the SaaS talk, events a couple of times, and that's where we met. But before we talk about your experience with Kuwait, how was your experience in London, and what got you interested to get into this crazy world of startups?
Okay, I think people sometimes misinterpret like I moved to London to start a company, which actually it's other way around. I actually moved to London a long time back. Today it's about 23, 24 years since I moved to London. So first 10 years or so, I was working like a typical IT consulting guy, like some of the companies like Microsoft, Accenture, Fidelity during the 10-year period. And then I just found a gap in something, and then I started the company. That is how I started, and I will say I'm more of an accidental entrepreneur rather than you planned for it, or that's also the reason why we are bootstrapped, and it didn't go through a typical route of you have an idea and then you go pitching with the VC and then find funding and then jump from your day job and then work for a, so all those things didn't happen. I didn't follow a regular playbook, and that is how I ended up in this startup ecosystem. Yeah, without even you realizing, you ended up there, and from there, it's a complete different learning, and then we organically grown from there to where we are today. So for the audience, probably they didn't get the, if they don't know the context, everybody calls a startup these days, but we are like nearly 13 years now, so it's a pretty matured setup at this stage. Yeah.
Right, right. Interesting. And when you were here in London, you've been in the market for a couple of years. What inspired you to start Kovai.co and develop products like Document 360, BizTalk 360?
Yeah, sure. As I said, I was working the way that let me rewind back and let's frame the story how it
Yeah,
all unfolded. So I moved to UK back in 2000, and the first 10 years of my journey was a standard, typical IT guy coming from a very deep technical background. I'm very passionate on the technology side and relatively hardcore techie guy. And 10 years I worked on a specific technology called BizTalk server. It's a
right.
Microsoft product. Microsoft got various products, and one of the products is called a BizTalk server. It's a enterprise integration product. So if you are dealing with the large companies like BBC or Shell or Boeing and those kind of companies, you typically have 10, 15 different enterprise products to operate your business. For example, everybody will have something like a SAP to run their ERP operations, and you'll have Salesforce or Siebel or Dynamics on one side, and then some Workday or PeopleSoft or something on the people side of operations. So any company today, none of the companies run on one single monolithic gigantic software, right? Like it runs on 20 different products. But the challenge, what you will typically see is at some point they all need to talk to each other.
Right.
You need to have a data from your SAP system into your Workday, or from Workday to Salesforce, and all these things happens. And that is where this it's a well-defined problem in large enterprises called enterprise integration. So Microsoft got a product, and I was specialized in that area. And first 10 years, I was implementing solutions for all these companies like Fidelity and being in UK, for UK audience, the NHS system. And
Yeah.
I was part of the first initial team of 10 members who started this massive digitization in NHS to connect every single hospitals and GP surgeries into a single network. Right? You can imagine the complexity of connecting everything together. I was part of that original a small team from Accenture, Microsoft, and then BT and Fujitsu. We did that project. So that is how, just to give a background. And during the 10 years period, I found a lot of gaps in this Microsoft product when it comes to running your day-to-day operations, security, and monitoring, and Microsoft was not addressing those gaps, and they started moving more towards Azure and cloud, and they started to pay very little attention to this on-premise server products like BizTalk server and SharePoint and SQL
Right.
server. So they shifted their focus more to everything was Azure and mobile, and they eventually killed mobile, but it was cloud and mobile was their focus since 2007, something like that. So that is where I spotted the gap, and then I started initially as a hobby project, and they said, hey, if people are facing this problem, let me try to do something, and that is how the company got started. So in the started in the sense, like initially I was working more on weekends, and then and more like I never thought of building a company, but just solving the problem. And once I reached a stage, where it was really useful, I got some feedback from few people, and then I decided to build it full time. So first 1 year, I actually went part time. That time I was working for Fidelity Investments. I went part time and I did 3 days with them, and then 2 days plus weekends. I was building this product. It took me 1 year to build the V1 of the product, and that is how the
Interesting.
company got started. BizTalk 360 was the first product we started, and for the first 5 years or so, that was the only product, and then we grown organically and scaled the company. So that is the origin story of how the company got started, and then there is a second part to it, like how we gone to multi products and how we rebranded ourselves into Kovai.co. Because when I started, it was one product, Vista 360, but eventually we built two more products. In fact, we built more. We killed a lot of them, and today we are settled down with three products and happy with that. So then at some point we had to have an umbrella brand to put all these products under a single roof, and that is where Kovai.co was formed back in 2018. And today we are known as a brand as Kovai.co. But depending on to whom we are talking, like if you're talking more on the startup world, people will know us more as a Document 360. If you're
Right.
talking to the audience in the Microsoft ecosystem, they will know us more on the other products like BizTalk 360 and Turbo 360, which is a cloud cost optimization product.
Right.
So yeah, I think there are some challenges around running multiple products. Identity becomes your problem. How do you represent yourself? Yeah, that is where we are.
Interesting. A couple of interesting things you talked about. One is, how do you how do you look at building like a second or third product? When do you get to make that decision? Is it like a revenue number which is hit in the first product, and that's when you get to decide to work on a second product?
Yeah, sure. I think there are various way people have done multi product. Typically what happens is like the startups will reach a saturation point with their single product, because they'll keep growing. At some point, the growth slows down, and then
Yeah.
they say the only way for them is to start diversifying horizontally. Okay, they'll try to find adjacent products what is relevant, and they can sell it to the same buyers, and then they keep adding it. Or sometimes in your core product, like a certain feature um, is much bigger than a feature. It could be a product on its own, and then you spin off as a separate product. That's how typically happens. But in our case, it's completely different. And if you look at it, as I said, there is an identity crisis, right? There is no connection between the products. The first two products are connected. We can actually sell it to the same buyer, same persona. At least the buyers are from the same domain. But
Right.
Document 360 is a completely different. So in our case, what happened was we went more against opportunities, complete greenfield opportunities, rather than trying to build something adjacent. It's not a really advisable strategy, because you will end up almost like running like multiple companies.
Right.
So one is the first two products are more sales led and enterprise, and then the sales cycles are different. The Document 360 is more like quick. It's a more of a PLG and marketing driven, and it's a very small, very short sales cycle. So it's a completely different motions. Um, so the reason why we went into Document 360 is because it's I just saw an opportunity, and it was too good for me to miss it. That's a driver for it. So
Interesting.
around 2017, we were looking for a knowledge based product for our initial product, BizTalk 360 and Turbo 360, we need to build a product knowledge base, API documentation. And we were struggling that time with the typically the way it does is the startups, what they do is they will buy some customer support products like Zendesk, Freshdesk, Intercom, Help Scout. There are like 100 different products on the customer support side. They'll pick one, and all these products will come with some kind of a self-service knowledge base as a small module within them. So if you look at even today, I'm surprised like it's now the large company still running on the knowledge base that comes out of Zendesk and Freshdesk. So
Yeah.
what happens is there's the inflection point. Like once your product is bigger, you have like 5-10 people writing knowledge base content every day. Your knowledge base becomes so crucial for your customer base. Then these products, this offering from the customer support product is not good enough. They're missing a lot of features what you'll require for a high scale, bigger use case. So this is one side. What typically happens is if companies really like Stripe is an example, right? You can imagine how important the knowledge base of Stripe is for them, because without that, because they are more like the developers, they need to know the API documentation, and then there are some things like currencies in tax regulations in different countries, and the documentation is critical for the business Stripe, and that a lot of companies will be in a similar situation like a
Right.
Twilio and Segment and ChargeBee and any company you can look at. So what happens is either they will end up building something internally, putting a large team and building something, or they will go to extreme lengths like complex systems like a headless CMS, and there are like some legacy products which are designed for like documentation for manufacturing and things like that. So they go to. So I found there is something missing in the middle where you need to have the power of something complicated like headless CMS and custom building, and the same time ease of use, like what you get it on the left hand side. And that is how we ended up building Document 360. So I think to answer your question, how you go multi-product, in our case, I found the opportunity is too big for me to lose it. And the TAM is so big, like
Right.
technically any digital business could be
Right.
our customer. Okay, it's not really ideal for you to like ICP and segmentation becomes complex,
Correct.
but at least the market size is so big. I mean, today we are focusing more on SaaS companies and startups, and then that until we saturate, like we can go after credit unions and finance companies and insurance companies, and you can keep going, like that is what excites me. And today more than half of the people, like we have about close to 170 people working on Document 360.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. And um, since I've been on the revenue side of the business, uh, is it possible for a salesperson to sell all the products in the company, or do you think one should have a separate revenue teams for each product?
Correct. I think that's a really good question. The way we run it is like internally we have three different companies, so that is how
Okay.
we are running it. So we have like a small horizontal layer at the top, which has like a cross-functional things like finance and accounts and hiring and recruitment and IT and those kind of things. But every product got its own product owner, and the sales teams are different, the marketing teams are different, everything is different. The size of the teams vary between the products. As I said, like it's very difficult for a single person to even understand. We struggle. Document 360 gone so big. Even to we started segmenting salespeople within Document 360 now, because the product is so big. So yeah, I think it may not be suitable. Again, it's very difficult to give a generic answer as well. Like if I go back to the original point, typically when companies start building adjacent products to the same buyer persona, then you're better off having like a sales guy understanding all the products in the market, or account management person understanding all. They can look at upsell opportunities and cross sell opportunities. But in our case, like we run it like three different companies basically.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. And before the call, I mentioned I had also worked for a SaaS company back in India where we were pretty much bootstrapped. It was a very interesting experience for me as well. But why did you choose to bootstrap rather than take VC funding once you saw that there was a bit of a momentum with your first product?
Yeah, I keep getting this question constantly. I'm sure, like every interview, I cannot escape this this question
Yeah.
because I think there's a very few companies are still bootstrapped at our stage, right?
Yeah.
Like once you reach some $5-6 million, or even getting early traction, companies normally get into some kind of a VC route. So in our case, multiple factors. The first reason is the first product, BizTalk 360. I will say it's not really a VC fundable product. I understood very well because not all products or all companies are VC fundable, right?
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, you need to understand the how the funding and VC models work, because they typically bet on, say, for example, 100 companies, and they expect one company to become like 100 million or a unicorn status. They don't want incremental wins, so their job is to the normally the VC funding, if you look at it in the portfolio of if you, let's say, if you're a high net worth individual, right, if he's investing, so you will put it's a common thing is you don't put all your eggs in single basket. So you will basically have like a proper wealth management, like, and there is a companies investing in Apples and Amazons kind of thing. On the other side, there is a startup and VC kind of thing, and they know purposefully I'm giving that money because I want magically, you are finding in the next Facebooks and Googles and kind of thing. So the point there is, not every business is VC fundable business. So in our case, that is the case. The first product was not really VC fundable because the total addressable market is very small, because Microsoft themselves got a very only 10,000 customers worldwide for that product, right? So it's
Yeah.
a out of the 10,000, our TAM could be possibly like 700 to 1,000 customers is what we can expect to acquire for the product. So it's not exciting for a VC, and also uh, the the multiple things, like, it's a really complex thing, like it's more like running a security company kind of thing. It's a very small market, and didn't find it exciting. That is one side. And the second side, I would say it's a perfect scenario for a bootstrapped business, because it's a small market, it's a very small niche. At the same time, it's a good enough for you to build, a 10-15 million dollar business, and the competitors cannot get in that easily because it's a really hardcore technical problem you're solving, like I said, a security kind of thing. So it's not somebody to look at you and say, this guy is growing, let me also jump and come and do something like that. So because I come with 10-15 years experience building that product. So you need to find somebody like me to come and compete with me. So
Yeah.
it's order. And third, the revenue started to come very quickly. I closed my first customer like within 5 weeks after launching. And then third customer was Shell, for example, because you're solving a really focused pain points what these companies are having. So the revenue started to come pretty quickly. And once the revenue started to come, then I didn't see a reason for it to go VC route. And again, the other point I want to say is, I'm not against VC. I'm not saying, okay, yeah, I'm going to be bootstrap. I'm going to preach everybody to be bootstrap. I'm not in that mind. Like, okay, you need to see what's the right thing. And the theory is, if you get money, you should know how to spend that money. If you don't know how to spend that money, don't take the money.
Yeah.
And if there is no necessity as well. For example, today, if I go and take like a few $1 million funding, it will be sitting in the bank, because there's only so much you can spend as well, unless
True.
otherwise you're crazy and burn and that's a common problem you've seen everywhere, right? Especially VC funded businesses. Because I interviewed somebody recently, and she said she's actually looking out for a job because the company was funded, and the only one of the key metrics they had was how quickly they can grow the team, and grown it to like 25 people without even knowing why they need 25 people in the department, right? So
Yeah.
it's a very common mistake. When you have more money, you don't know what to do with it.
True.
So those are all the factors. And even today I take VC, I get you can imagine, like, there's a lot of inbound requests continuously from VCs. I take calls here and there.
Right.
The thing I tell them is, I don't need it now, but we'll check back after 6 months if I find
Yeah.
somebody. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. And obviously, I want to talk about AI because Sam Altman said like in the next 5 to 10 years, you'll have $1 billion companies which will be run by like 10 people using AI tools. Do you agree with that? And do you think like 5 to 10 years is like a plausible thing which could happen where we would have $1 billion company run by ten employees?
Absolutely, it's possible because you have use cases today to justify that thing. I keep talk because I am a big believer of having a small team and then achieving larger scale. I don't believe I don't believe in having like 1,000 people company or 2,000 people company to reach a scale. And
Right.
internally in this hands-on and like all hands meeting and stuff, I keep giving this example of WhatsApp. When they sold to Facebook for 19 billion, there were only 50 people. So
Yeah.
that's possible today, right? And that's because they focus on only one problem, and to solve that WhatsApp problem you don't need to have army of people. You only need people with a deep thinking and who can solve a complex problem. Whenever you're trying to solve a complex problem, it's actually it goes vertical, it doesn't go horizontal.
Yeah.
You need to somebody understands top to bottom the complexity, and only in fact only one or two guys can solve the problem. You can't have 100 people to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Only you need more people only for all the bells and whistles surrounding the business. The core will always be like only deep tech people. So that is how I see it. And with today with AI, that that synonym is basically getting tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you can actually customer support is a good example, right? Like when you have 25 people on support, um, uh, a lot of the things, if you have a very good knowledge base and all the solutions to your L1 L2 things are all addressed in your knowledge base, and you can have like a AI chatbot at the top which will interact almost like a human. Before, you need to put some decision trees and manual logic to traverse, which is very hard. But today you can have a AI conversational bot on the top which can understand your knowledge base. It can also look at your historical support tickets and then maybe some other sources internally where you have all this knowledge, and that you can have a much better service. The 25, it can go two ways. Either some companies may reduce the number of support people, or they will not hire more people. The 25 people today, they're serving 1,000 customers. The same 25 people may be able to serve 10,000 customers in the next year.
Yeah.
And this is one example. And it's same for sales and same for product. Everywhere that will shrink and shrink and shrink. And then if you find the right problem, right, maybe you only need like a 10 people company can create $1 billion business. So that is how that equation will pan out, and it's definitely that's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And you have early stage founders who listen to the podcast, but a lot of young graduates, if they're graduating out of a CS computer science degree, and they're looking for a job and they're worried about AI will take their jobs, what advice would you give to them on what they need to learn so that they are job ready in next a year or so?
Yeah, sure. I think nobody knows what's going to happen, but one thing is for sure. I think this statement is roaming around everywhere, right? Like AI may not take your job, but the person with who knows AI will take your job.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, so it's basically everybody needs to invest in what is happening there, like what are the advancements. Things are going very fast, so that's hard for everybody, like in some interviews. I think in the very some of the early stage interviews, I couldn't even answer. Somebody even asked, what is this GPT? I don't know. What is LLM? I don't know. But today you need to keep up, like
yeah,
2 years ago or something, I faced myself when somebody asked me, what is this transformer? I don't know what is a transformer. Like like. But
yeah,
today, in spite of your busy schedule, whatever you're doing, you still need to invest your time
true.
understanding that side of things. Definitely, like there's no clear answer, but I have two boys, 17 and 14. I really don't know like what's going to happen when they graduate, and but all I'm telling them is maybe since we are in a tech cold, maybe we are overexposed to AI.
Yeah.
maybe 90% of the other population don't know what's happening inside AI, right?
True.
So
True.
maybe they are the ones most affected. Like if today you know AI, and if you're scared about AI, I'll say it's a good sign, because at least you are 4 steps ahead of the rest of
Yeah.
the population.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, with AI, we all thought like the jobs with people who are drivers, or who are doing manual jobs, those will go away. We didn't realize like the creative jobs might go away, and maybe uh, next could be, I don't know, customer support or sales. I don't know. People are talking
Yeah,
about
every job will have, the way it's looking is, like you will have something called this agent, right? That is where
yeah,
it's going. Because I'm a persona, right? I'm a CEO, and that persona
yeah,
can have a equivalent AI agent. There is
right.
a AI CEO agent, right? Because
Interesting.
if I look at my day, maybe 50% of what I'm doing may be monotonous. Maybe I'm making some decision making. Even those decision makings, if you look at it, yeah, that's a good example. Like as a CEO, my job is 80% decision making in a given day, right? People come to you and then they will come with this and that and suggestions and say, I need to make a decision. And that is how the nature of any CEO, whether you're Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai, you're not
Yeah,
really doing the job. People come to you for making the final decisions.
yeah,
If I have a agent A, and that is sitting next to me, and it understands everything, like, okay, I'm using Teams, I'm using Outlook, I'm using Slack, and I'm going to this LinkedIn, and I'm going to here, going there. These are the presentations come to you, and it understands the pattern in which I make decisions, right?
right.
It's learning side by
True.
side, and maybe I will ask the CEO AI agent to say, tell me what decision should I make, right?
Yeah,
And
true.
it will give you maybe bit more accuracy, and you fine tune. You can see it's coming, like this is all possible today. And that is how every job will have some kind of an agent. And I can see from our side, Document 360, there's a technical writer persona, right? The technical writer, maybe, there is an agent for a technical writer, as a helper, as a technical writer. One scenario, okay, my job is, okay, there is a new screen on your settings. How do you configure this XYZ? What do you do? Okay, I log into the portal, I go to the settings, I take screenshots here, screenshots there, and then I put everything together and I fill in the blanks with, fill this blah, blah, blah. 50% of it can be done by an
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
writer agent. Yeah, I'll do all these things for you. You just review and make some corrections and then push it, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
maybe things like formatting, and I need to format this image nicely, like the backdrops and this, that is the future, I don't know, like how long will it take, but it's not too far. I'm pretty sure that in 10 years the world will be different, but things are going fast, and we just need to be prepared. Yeah, same like how web impacted everybody, right? Like every business got disrupted, and
yeah,
the whole e-commerce and Amazon's and pets.com and this and that, like they transformed. Lot of web the Ubers and the Airbnbs, and so similar way you'll say huge wave of things coming. The thing is, you can't do everything. You just need to pick one, and like what is the thing you are going to bet on, right?
yeah, no, absolutely. I read a post from Jason Lincoln from SaaSter, who said like software is not dead, but AI will take up quite a bit of profit margins from SaaS. But do you think software and SaaS industries have slowed down in the last couple of years? But is there something to worry about for SaaS founders? Do you think it's going towards like AI first models?
Yeah, I don't think it's the worry in the sense it's a constant evolution, right? Okay, SaaS is just a delivery model. Okay,
Right.
yeah, you had Siebel as a CRM, and then Salesforce came, and then they reinvented SaaS model. It's just the same software, the
True.
way people use it, and the way the billing changed. Before, if you want to have a Siebel in your company, it would have costed you like at least a couple of millions for you to install, buy the procure the software, and Salesforce changed everything. In a similar way, today AI is the next evolution, and
Yeah.
the main thing what a SaaS founders need to be aware of is how is AI going to be impactful for your business? If you look at Document 360, like we had to change our roadmap completely. Like when they say today we are in kind of forefront in terms of the AI capabilities in the knowledge based product. I'll give an example. To before, let's say you got a docs.airtable.com, right? Airtable is our customer. I think they have support.airtable.com. So about 12 months ago, if you go and search, how do I format this table in Airtable, right? It would
Right.
have given you like 7 different articles, like Google. Okay, hey, this is a settings article, this is blah, blah, blah. You need to click one by one and you need to figure out, okay, you find a piece of information and say, hey, this is how I do it. And that is how you. Today, if you ask the same question, it will give you exact instruction and say, this is how you do it, and these are the 7 articles I reference for you to condense and give you that data, right? And so much value for the customer. The experience is better, and they don't raise a support ticket. Otherwise, if you don't have the thing, the next thing would have been support and bad experience, and it would have taken 2 3 days to resolve it. And that is one side. The second side is being a knowledge management platform. The technical writer is the biggest persona for us, and you can imagine the amount of things that's going in help and the technical writing, like all the standard things, like I have an abstract, and you write an article out of it. Can you transform it into active voice, passive voice? Expand this paragraph, collapse this paragraph. We have the whole suite of AI capabilities for technical writers. The point here is, we adopted. You can keep and argue: is somebody going to come and kill my SaaS business, or
Yeah.
like I'm going to adopt all these AI techniques and then make my adding so much value to my end customer.
Right.
That is how you see it, right? And there's a lot of things on analytics side as well. Is AI everywhere in the product now? So doing a lot of things. That is how people need to see it. Rather than worrying, you should embrace it and then move forward. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. And you mentioned you got 90% of your employees in Coimbatore, and you got sales teams, and you're also based there in London. How do you maintain that sort of culture and that accountability, since the founder is based in a different country, and how do you manage your employees remotely?
Yeah, in fact, if you look at ours, it's not as bad as remote first companies, right? So
Right.
the remote first companies, the people are everywhere, right? Like it's very difficult to even then I won't say they don't have a culture, because they adopt a culture what is suitable for them. So in our case, it's same. It's a homegrown talent in the last 13 years or so. So you need to be careful at every scale of the business. You need to make sure you maintain that culture at every level, because at every level it will get disrupted, because when you're running like a 10 people company, it's different. Yeah, and then 50 different, 100 different, like every stage things will get disrupted. It's about continuous communication. I think I love the statement from Jeff Weiner, that's a past CEO of LinkedIn.
Right.
It's about culture. How do you embed culture into the company? It's only by communication. You need to keep talking, keep telling the same thing again and again and again, and only when you feel like you're tired, everybody will understand.
Okay.
That's how long it takes. But again, the other analogy I can give you is, why does McDonald's and Coke still run massive ad campaigns, right?
Right.
You might think, everybody knows. There's always, like a new set of people
True.
coming into the ecosystem continuously. In your case, there's a new set of employees onboarding continuously. They won't know the history, last 10 years history. You need to again start again. Okay, I need to talk the same thing again and again, and you need to talk it with the same energy level what you had 10 years ago. That is the trick, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I do
Interesting.
coffee CEO with coffee session every quarter. I go to India like every 10th week. So whenever I go there, there is a coffee with CEO session, and then all the new joinees in that quarter they join, and I have a similar conversation, like what is the history of the company, like how did I get started, what are the customer base we have, like you need to build them the trust and confidence, and then get them into the culture. So
Right.
it's a continuous investment. Yeah.
Interesting. And we did touch base on this, but you had been on a podcast where you talked about living in London versus living in India. But if you could go back, 20 years back, do you, or somebody who's thinking about living abroad, would you advise them to live and build in India? Because in the last 10, 15 years, the ecosystem in India has totally changed. But
Yeah.
what's your view on that?
I think today it's basically, it's plus and minus, uh, it depends what you want. You can have like a really good lifestyle in India because, you can get anything. This is thanks to globalization. It's not that, like 15, 20 years ago, getting a Nike shoe is basically it's a big thing, right?
True.
Like you can't get it. Like it's today the case is different. You can pretty much get whatever you want in India, and also the standard of living. The only challenge is maybe it didn't improve for everybody in India, right? There is always a partiality is there. Like people who are in IT and the top end jobs, their salary difference is
Yeah.
so big. Even in our company, we see, the son will be earning whatever, 25, 30 lakhs. And then his father, after 30 years, would be still earning only that 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs, what
Yeah.
the bank or something like that, right? So that disparity is there. But if you are lucky on the wealthy side and you're earning, your lifestyle is much, much better. And that's to some extent that is sad, and that's the reality of India. Somebody who's earning, you can imagine the buying potential of somebody at a 30 lakh salary in India, right? Imagine
Yeah.
if you earn 30 lakhs in Coimbatore, a city like Coimbatore, where
True.
your 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom luxury apartment is like 15,000 rupees rent, or
Yeah.
maybe 30,000 rupees rent.
Yeah.
And actually, if you compare at the same level, somebody earning $150,000 in US may not have the same lifestyle what a 30 lakhs person in India will have, because at $150,000 after taxes, you still will be running like a average middle class lifestyle, right?
True.
You
Yeah.
need to be cautious of, because if you go to a restaurant, that's going to cost you like $200, and you need to be careful about all those things.
Yeah.
So I think it's very difficult, but the bottom line is, I think that that podcast went kind of controversy, but I still stick to that point. If you are lucky enough to be on the wealthy side in India, the lifestyle is pretty good in India,
Pretty
right?
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the opportunities have become
Yeah, I think
much bigger.
again the other thing, today there are like that's another way to look at it. Before, for when I moved in, basically, like I'm I didn't have an opportunity. I was very hungry. You're very, deep technical, and you want to do more than what's possible within that small ecosystem, and you got stuck because there are no companies who are doing cutting edge technologies, right? Today,
Yeah.
that's what I'm telling people. Today what we do at Kovai.co at Coimbatore is on par with what somebody will do at San Francisco, right? We are
Oh.
not,
Yeah.
in fact, we are fighting head on,
Yeah.
we are fighting, we are more than you guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that opportunity was not there,
Right.
today. That's ours is one example. And if you go to Bangalore or Pune or Hyderabad, and there's so many things happening, so even people don't miss out.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think whoever realize that and make use of it, uh, there's some downside. Some people, they don't. I feel that they don't utilize the opportunity correctly. You can earn money without
Yeah.
being smart as well. That is also possible in India now.
Mhm.
So making use of the opportunity is also very important. Yeah.
True. True. Yeah. And we did touch base a bit on this. You've been investing into startups, and you've got just want to understand. Should operators and founders invest into startups? And does it help them understand business? Because there are a lot of founders who have raised money, which unlike you, but there's a bit of a controversy that they should not look into invest into startups. But the thing is, they got 99% or 100% of their wealth tied to one company. But what are your views on this? And how did you start getting into investing into startups?
Yeah, I think so. In our case, it's a to one extent it's based more on the just a pure pure investment side, like a VC kind of thing, like like we have like a level of money where we can invest in high risk investments and see
Right.
like whether that will give a better return for us in over a longer period of time.
Right.
And that is why we got into investment. And the other thing from a personal side of view, like like normally when I come across somebody in my friend circle, or like people whom I know, they're starting something, they come to me as an initial angel round kind of thing, and that is
Right.
how yeah. And also, like for our thesis is very simple, like the money what we are putting in that startup through Kovai Ventures, to be honest, we are not really I think of it more like a write-off. That is how I think of, like that is a mindset you need to have.
Right.
And whether the founder should do that, I will say first focus on your company first.
Yeah.
Like this, the example I will give you is an airline example, right?
Right.
You need to put your own masks first before
So
helping
true.
others.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
I've seen that as well. Your company is not matured enough. Maybe you got secondary, like like okay, may got few million out of secondary VC round, and these guys are investing and diversifying their focus from there. And sometimes they don't have that clarity of that money is a risky money, it may not come back.
Right.
So you want to think about that as well. But on the other side, it's good for the ecosystem. Like
True.
all these founders, I know like a lot of the uh, Swiggy's and Zomatos and Oyos, and that's good. Once you're scaled and then you have surplus money, and
True.
rather than that sitting in the bank and just collecting standard bank interest, it's good to carve out a portion of it. Like that's what we do. Like okay, 10% or 15% of that thing, we are ready to take big bets. So
Nice.
there are two benefits. One, it can return in a good ROI. The second, maybe you're also helping the ecosystem to grow as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're getting both. So
Yeah.
yeah, you need to have the clarity why you're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Correct. Correct. Makes sense. And I quickly want to do the top three. What's your favorite business book?
I think I read a lot of them. Typically, what happens is when you ask your favorite business book, you'll typically tell what you read recently, right? Okay, I
Yeah.
think two three books I like it. One is a good strategy, bad strategy. I think there's Richard. I can't remember the second name. There's a good book, and it's very. I think is one of the number one New York bestsellers or something.
Right.
And the other books I've read, which stuck out, is it's a book from Yuri, from founder of Waze. Fall in love with problems, not the solution. That is a good book. And then the
Nice.
other book is Effortless, from Greg. I can't remember the names. It's very difficult. Yeah, I think those are some of the books which are really standout books. I read a lot of books. In fact, like I didn't have any personal mentor. The books I think I wrote somewhere. Books became my mentors for a very long time. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. But yeah, no, absolutely. We'll put that in the show notes. And if you could go back in time when you started Kovai, what is the one thing you would have focused on or done anything differently?
Um, I think I feel, like maybe the first 5 years of the business, we were pretty slow. That is what I see it. But, I also don't believe in, like looking at the rear view mirror. It's always, you don't know what could have happened. But I felt, like the level of clarity what we have today, like what I have as an individual, if I had that, like around 2011, 12, like probably we would have grown much bigger. The first product, if I look at it today, that's an ideal product for a founder. Like it ticked all the boxes. Like it's a big enough market, and then the product is a perfect product market fit. The ICPs are very clear. We could have gone much, but we were, since due to the bootstrapper thing, I was just running more like incremental thing, but that also helped me to learn. So there's no regrets, but like probably I would have taken money, like probably grown faster. But yeah.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. And do you have any favorite online tool, for example, Gmail, Slack, Zoom?
I love Teams actually. Like we've been a very early users of Teams since we are more into Microsoft ecosystem. We are using it right from preview. We used to use Yammer before, and then when the Yammer moved to Teams,
Nice.
day one, and the way they are improving, I think there's a big difference between Teams and Slack or other things. Is it's very well connected. Your entire basically we don't have any internal email communications now, so it's
Okay.
the entire business runs on Teams, and so we have over like 7 8 years now we have matured processes, and everything happens in Teams. So I think that's something maybe we can't live without today. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Super, super interesting. We'll put that in the show notes. And Saravana, what is the best way people can reach out to you and know more about Kovai.co? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm not that difficult to find. So if you search me at LinkedIn, will be the easy option.
Sure.
If somebody want to reach out, I think probably only I was thinking put a post on how you should reach out in LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Like people, I get lots of requests, but if you want to stand out, you need to have like some kind of a nice intro why I should get connected to you.
Yeah.
Like uh, be very precise. What is your expectation? Why do you want to get connected? Don't come and say like we got mutually part of this group, that group, and then like
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's the best way. And finding Kovai is also same. If you search for document 360 Kovai.co, or you'll find us a lot of resources out there. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Well, yeah, no, absolutely. We'll put that in the show notes. Saravana, thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us. I really enjoyed my conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you, Rohit, for having me on the show.